Okay. You guys ready to get started? Hold, please. Shut this door. I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Y'all all huddled up tonight for some reason. No, it's 70 degrees in here. How many of you went to the ladies' sock party? I heard it. Y'all had a good time. So things coming up. What's coming up this Saturday? Operation Christmas Child Processing Center. Yep. That is happening on Saturday. Meet here at the church at what time? Okay. So, yeah, 9 to 3. Also, not that it really affects any of y'all, but on the first Sunday in January, we are titling that Membership Sunday, like we had a year or so ago, where everybody that has been wanting to join the church will join the church. So that's going to be Membership Sunday. I do know of a couple of families that are talking about joining the church. So, and they did not want to come up here by themselves. So I said, well, let's just do a. Yeah, it did. So that's coming up there. You can do dual membership. We've got at least a couple of them. Let's see. That's really about all the announcements. I will say this. Yeah, I guess that is all the announcements. Yep. Okay.
You can sing the whole song and not figure out what. If it was the chorus, probably would have got what the chorus or the first.
Well, I did it today, and let me just tell you how good I did. I got 7 right. Well, I'm not going to. Let's do prayer requests while you still work on that. Talk really slow. Uh-huh. Need to be praying for her back. Okay. Oh, I can tell you, back pain can discourage you. That's for sure. But so pray for her. Also, continue to pray for Betty Jones, as she is still not doing very well. We need to pray for the Mathis family with Emily's passing. Joyce McCall. I hadn't talked to her this week. Last week she was doing a little bit better. Yeah, William. Who else? Yeah. It started out with back pain, but somebody had told me it's more hip related now. Is that right? Or am I getting people confused? Hamstring, that's right, hamstring. Okay. Well, be praying for him. That's, you don't realize all that stuff back there in your back is connected to all sorts of other stuff until it starts hurting. It did not. Sounds like sciatica to me. Hamstring? Your hamstring's this muscle back here behind your leg. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Is he having to walk with a cane? Yeah. 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 Also, for those of you ladies that knew, John Brown, it ended up being back related. It was not kidney stones. Did y'all hear that? But he went to the chiropractor and it's helped him like 95% better. So, okay, I know about the son-in-law. What's the father? Oh, okay. Okay. Is he in Michigan? Yeah. Also, Kim has a former client slash friend who is at Mission Hospital with some issues, so pray for her. Pray for our son and daughter-in-law and grandkids. They are flying in to come in for Christmas on Saturday. No, they're staying a week and leaving. So we will have Christmas next week. So he's got to work Christmas this year. His schedule got him to working. So just pray for them as they travel. Anybody else? Veronica? Ooh, that's no good. Pray for her. Yep. Ow. Really? Yeah. Yeah. Certainly pray for Diane and Buster. Hopefully he's tending to her really well because he should be very good at that. Oh, because of the vertigo? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she's been fighting this vertigo now for several weeks. Yep. That makes some logical sense. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Pray for Awana and youth as they're meeting tonight. One good thing, as you may or may not know, some of the youth have been getting together. I won't say spontaneously, but it's been student led, and they actually got together the first of this week because Brevard, as y'all know, Brevard didn't go to school till 10 o'clock a couple of days, but that group met at Waffle House and had Bible study before school, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, so continue to pray for the youth as the Lord seems to be working in their lives for sure. It's awesome. All right, anything else before we go to prayer? All right, well, if not, Jeff, you lead us in prayer, please? Ooh, they'll be traveling back in possibly some bad weather then. All right. Amen. Thank you, Jeff. All right, so the quiz is out there, and apparently you guys are doing as. Let's just see how well you're doing. So let's just start with. We're going to start with this side where you have to put the number of the song. That's how we'll go down it. So, what number goes beside "O Little Town of Bethlehem"? 14 is correct. I know it's hard without singing it, isn't it? All right, what child is this? That is 6. That is correct. Love came down at Christmas. Anybody? 18. Yeah, I had not heard of that one. Christy, if you miss this next one, you just need to come down to the altar. All right, go tell it on the mountain is what number? 23. Jolly old St. Nicholas. 21, that is correct. We wish you a Merry Christmas. 1, that is good. Of the Father's love begotten. 24. Carol of the Bells. 29. God rest you merry gentlemen. 4, that is correct. Bring a torch. Janetta. It's not. It's 28. Beautiful is the mother. Hush, hush. Beautiful is her child. I don't know what that one is. That was 28 on Bring a Torch. Pat a Pan. 22. The man of old days give the King of Kings their praise. Sweet little Jesus boy. 10. 22. Sweet little Jesus boy is 10. Okay. Oh, holy night. 2. Long lay the world in sin. Silver bells. 15. It came upon a midnight clear. How about 5? All right, hark the herald angels sing. 19. I'll be home for Christmas. 3. Away in a manger. 26. Sing we now of Christmas. 13. Angels we have heard on high. 11. Silent night, holy night, round yon virgin mother and child. 27. 27. Mary, did you know? 16. We three kings. 8. No. Oh, come all you faithful. 9. Joy to the world. 25. Little drummer boy. I didn't know little drummer boy had words to it. I thought it was just a... Yeah. Why do they not show it on regular TV? Okay, the holly and the ivy. 30. Fum, fum, fum. 12. Jingle bells. 17. White Christmas. 20. I'm going to just say this. I'm a little upset it didn't have Blue Christmas on here.
Oh, that's Elvis.
That's I know. 29 was Carol of the Bells up on the top, closer to the top. Did anybody get all of them right? Any of them get half of them right? 15 of them? Who? Richard, how many did you get up there? All right. I would not have, I had a different quiz in mind, and then I found that one. I'm like, ooh, we're doing that one. The quiz that I had in mind, we're going to do in Sunday school this Sunday. It's a little more spiritual. This one was not. You got 19? Goodness. All right. Daniel chapter 6. We are going to be, Carolyn, you got a picture of Jesus there? Oh, goodness. Oh, I've got that tone, that's for sure. Let me hear a phone ring in church Sunday morning. We'll see how I sound. All right. We are in Daniel chapter 6. And this is, we're going to look at the power of God in the lion's den, how Daniel in the lion's den. Somebody tell me, because we were in Daniel chapter 3 last week, how many years have passed since Daniel chapter 3 happened? More than 7. Less than 400. No, more than 7, less than 400. It's roughly, the storyline from last week was roughly around 587 BC, under the Babylonian Empire. The Medes and Persian Empire conquered Babylonian Empire in 539. So from 587 to 539 is how many years? $587 to $539. You asking me or telling me? It sounded like a question. 48. And then the story that we're going to be talking tonight, they have roughly dated it between 538 and 534. So a couple of years after the transition of power. So roughly 50 years has passed between chapter 3 and chapter 6. Yeah, he was an older man at this time. So anyway, let's start with verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps. King James calls them princes. And they're basically equivalent to what a mayor would be in today's society. So, yeah, a sheriff or something. It's somebody that rules over like a town or a village or something like that. It could be the high sheriff or it could be a mayor. That's what it's kind of equivalent to. So anyway, it pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps to be over the whole kingdom, and over these, over the 220, 3 governors, of whom Daniel was one, that the satraps might give account to them, so that the king would suffer no loss. Then this Daniel designated himself above the governors and the satraps because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king gave thought to set him over the whole realm. So get a quick picture of the hierarchy. You have 120 of the satraps or princes or whatever, sheriffs, whatever. And then over the 120, there's 3 individuals, of which Daniel is one of the 3. And then as Daniel exercised his duty, he became kind of the one in charge even of the 3. So he was kind of the most, he was on, if you looked at it like this, he was the president, and then he had 2 vice presidents, and then he had all the 120 others, okay? Now, understand this. Daniel is a Jew, and in the kingdom of Babylon, the Jews were basically prisoners of war, right? So when the power shifted from Babylon to the Medo-Persian Empire, the prisoners of war just shifted with them, okay? So in the eyes of many of the people that Daniel is now in charge of, he is still a Jew. He's still someone that in their eyes, they can't figure out why he's there, okay? Yeah, why is he bossing us around when he's a prisoner of war, basically, okay? But we see there in verse 3 that he had an excellent spirit in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. So in other words, in some sense, I think we're seeing Daniel's, we call it Christian testimony. It's not what it was back then, but in our day and time, it would be his Christian testimony that set him apart, and how he exercised and how he accomplished his job set him above and beyond everybody else. Maybe because he was trustworthy, among other things. So on your outline, having a work ethic that is pleasing to the Lord will be very powerful when it comes to your job or a job. Be that person, be that employee. As a Christian, Christians should be that employee that sets the standard of excellence for everybody else in the department or in the plant or however it was. Certainly should not be the one that everybody looks at and says, you know, they're barely doing anything. Christians need to be the ones that are setting the standard, so that if there's an opportunity, the bosses will say, well, I'm going to give it to this person because I can trust them. They show up on time. They do their job. They don't complain. Just all of those things. And Daniel had set himself apart because of that. So we could call it his testimony. So if you were trying to describe what a Christian testimony was to someone else that maybe is not a church person, how would you describe that? Loyal, okay. Okay. What? Trustworthy. All right, give me a definition though. You're giving me one words. If I was to look at that person and say, that person has a great Christian testimony. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's a great example, a great definition of how Daniel was living. He wasn't living to promote himself. He wasn't just showing up and doing the bare minimum. He was doing a job in such a way that it would please God. And because it pleased God, it also pleased the king, obviously. So having a good work ethic is just something, and unfortunately, it seems like in our society today, there's not a good work ethic out there, especially sadly, the younger generation. And it's just beyond me. All of us grew up with parents that would whoop our behinds if we didn't have a good work ethic. Irregardless of whether we were Christian or not, you're not going to make me look. I can remember my daddy saying that, you're not going to make me look bad. Of course, in turn, obviously, you're not going to make God look bad either. But it was just instilled in us to have a good work ethic. It doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. And yeah. 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 Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I talked last Sunday. We were talking in Sunday school, and we were talking about dating, because the college kids are still trying to figure that all out, and they wanted to know what are some good rules of thumb for dating. I said, here, I'm gonna give you. I gave them several, but this is my number one. You date for the glory of God. That's rule number one. You go to work for the glory of God. At the end of the day, when you shut your truck door and you're driving home, did I glorify God in how I work today? Well, yeah. There are. Yeah, they all lump them in together. You're right. Yeah, there is unfortunately, it is, I think, a minority, but there are good workers out there. Uh, the problem is there's just so many not so good workers out there, and the good workers are working themselves to death. Yeah, yeah, because they're having to carry the load of probably 5 or 6 people that are not doing a good job. But again, like Daniel did, it gives us a great example. Have a good work ethic. And then make sure your testimony is, as Christians, it's the most important thing. It should be reflected in our work ethic, obviously, but looking at the remainder of this whole text, we're going to be looking at the testimony. But look at verse 4. So the governors and the satraps sought to find some charge against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find no charge or fault, because he was faithful, nor was there any error or fault found in him. His testimony was above reproach. They could not find anything, especially, and this verse 4 is talking about his work. His work for the kingdom, his work for the king. They could not find any fault in it because he was faithful, and they had no error, nothing wrong with him. He was just doing his job and doing it right. That's the kind of person that you want to have on the job, is somebody like Daniel. You have a testimony that is above reproach. How many, I know we've probably all worked with these people, If the boss is present, they're working like a dog. When the boss leaves, their work leaves. They're working for the boss. They're working for the eye. I want to look good in front of the boss. That always irritated me when I was in construction. Yeah, because every time they're around, or every time the boss is around, they're working harder than anybody else.
We're doing their job, but yet they get
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had some of those. I had a few of them I wanted to hit with a 2 before, but Lord never would give me the permission I wanted for that. But we've all worked with those people, haven't we? They are anything but consistent. All right, look at verse 5. Then these men said, "We shall not find any charge against this Daniel unless we find it against him concerning the law of his God." So these governors and satraps thronged before the king and said thus to the king, "King Darius, live forever. All the governors of the kingdom," and I think this is interesting because I would have to venture to say they didn't get together with all the governors of the kingdom, okay? But verse 7 says, "All the governors of the kingdom and the administrators and the satraps, the counselors and the advisors have consulted together." I'm thinking, no, they didn't. I would believe it a little bit more if they had email or text messaging. But in this time frame, it would have been almost impossible to do what they're saying they did, just because of the lack of the ability to get information out to everyone. Anyway, he says, "Have counsel together, establish a royal statute, and to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days, except you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish this decree and sign the writing so that it cannot be changed according to the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which does not alter." All right. Let me ask this question for those of us who are Christians tonight. Are we so consistent in our walk with the Lord that if somebody couldn't find anything in our work to cause problems, they could find something we are very consistent with in our worship to cause problems? Because that's exactly what happened to Daniel. They couldn't find anything at the workplace to catch him in. And realistically, they couldn't find nothing outside the workplace to catch him in, except for the fact that they knew he prayed 3 times a day with his window open towards Jerusalem. So they have to come up with this crazy law that says you can't pray to anybody but Darius for 30 days, knowing Daniel will do what he's been doing. So how consistent are we in our walk with the Lord and in our worship with the Lord that somebody could see that in us consistently and say, we can catch them right there if we can create a scenario? Are we that consistent? And are we also that consistent when somebody says, if you do it, you're going to get in trouble? Because that's what happens next. So outline our testimony. We should have a testimony that is consistent. Daniel's definitely was consistent. And then a testimony that will not waver if something has to be changed. And that's what happens here. And let's just say this. King Darius should have known. But what got in his way, you think? What? His pride. Those old boys played on his pride. Right? Because he has already, and I think they already know this, they know that King Darius likes Daniel. I mean, he's already set Daniel up above everybody else. So they already know he kind of likes Daniel maybe a little more than everybody else. So they have tricked old King Darius. But look what it says, verse 9. "Therefore King Darius signed the written decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room, with his window opened toward Jerusalem, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since early days." So this is something that he did consistently throughout his adult life, probably started in Babylon when they were under that rule. And obviously, these guys who are in leadership knows that's what he does. And they know that's the only way they're going to get him tripped up is to create a law that makes that illegal. So the question is for us to ask ourselves is, if what we are doing as a believer in our worship of the Lord, if it becomes illegal, will we still do it? Because you go over to the New Testament, it says, would I please God or man? Because if I please man, then I could not be the servant of God. And we can run, this is more plausible than maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, that the government or the local government or something would issue some kind of law stating that you can't do such and such. That's more plausible. I mean, it happened to a certain level during COVID, right? In my opinion, the government got too big for the britches during COVID. I know there was some right things that needed to be accomplished and stated. For instance, if you're sicker than a dog, stay away from everybody. That should be common sense, but I think they went way overboard on what they said. In my opinion, and I don't know if they were doing it thinking this way, but I know Satan was. He's setting it up so that the next time it happens, they can do it for a longer period of time. All right, I'm going to throw you my opinion again. In my opinion, during the tribulation, I think that's the way the mark of the beast will get on everybody. It'll be a dictation from the government. You have to have this. It's for safety, but you can't have it. You have to have it to buy, sell, and trade. That's exactly how it's going to work out. I mean, that's what the Bible says. It's you have to have the mark to buy, sell, and trade. And I think we're just seeing it work towards that. And we got to be very careful because it'll be sold as the right thing to do. In some places, it is. It is. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and since we're going to jump down the rabbit hole, let's just jump down it. They have watches. Now, all of us, if you have a cell phone, you can be tracked, right? I mean, no question about that. But Lauren, my daughter Lauren, was telling me about these watches you can buy for your kids that have trackers on them. Okay, that makes, as a parent wanting to know where your kids are, that makes pretty good sense. What's the next step? Let's just put a chip in a tracker for your safety. That's all I'm going to say about that. Well, let me say this. I didn't know this. This thing here could tell you who you're close to someone that did or did not have a vaccine. Isn't that yeah, you didn't know that, did you? There is a setting on here that could alert you if you're close to someone that doesn't have a vaccine. And that's what the Bible says, isn't it? We would. We would. We would. Well, and I'm going to tell you this. I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. I have cut every tracking system I have on this thing off. And it still knows what I'm doing, though. I watched a video, we're in a rabbit hole for sure, but I watched a video a while back where a guy completely shut down his phone and drove around the city for a day and then turned his phone back on at the end of the day, and it tracked every place he went with the phone off. Just saying. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I think that's a country song there, Christy. Yeah, and the thing is, and I think this is, to a sense, Satan knows that we want the best for other people, right? Satan knows that. And that's how he's going to play it. So that the Christians think, well, this is just the right thing to do. And I agree with Jeff. I'm glad we're going to be out of here by that time because, yeah. Let's not even get started about AI. So let me just throw this out at you. You remember the picture of the lines that I put up Sunday? AI generated. I told AI what I wanted, and it popped them up there. How many of you remember the old movie Arnold Schwarzenegger? Terminator, yeah. You know, we kind of thought that was a whole lot of sci-fi back in the day, but it is. Yeah. Yeah. All of those things back in the late 80s, early 90s that we thought was sci-fi is literally happening today. I didn't watch that one. I don't know about that one.
It's got to be the end of time.
It's really. It's scary. Yeah, it's scary for our world, but it's not scary. Yeah, you're right. It's not scary for us. I mean, I have to be careful because I'm snarky. Y'all don't know that about me, I know. But I'll just give it your best shot. I'm that type person. When it comes to attacking God, I'll give it your best shot because God wins. I read the end of the book. Anyway, all right, let's get back to our study. We chased that rabbit down the hole. The one thing that I think we can glean from Darius, we need to be aware of the deception of others on our outline. Because verse 11 says, these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplications before his God. Okay, first of all, they already knew what he was going to be doing. That's why they created the thing for Darius to sign. So they were deceptive, and it helps us understand that Darius kind of already knew that. That's why Daniel is in the position he's in, because Daniel could be trusted while these other guys maybe can't be trusted as much. But he let them slip one in on him. Verse 12, and they went before the king and spoke concerning the king's decree. Have you not signed a decree that every man who petitions any god or man within 30 days except you, O king, shall be cast in the den of lions? The king answered and said, this thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which does not alter. Verse 13, so they answered and said before the king, that Daniel, who is one of those captives from Judah, does not show due regard for you, O king, or for the decree that you have signed, but makes his petition 3 times a day. Now here's how you know Darius was fooled by these guys. Verse 14, and the king, when he heard these words, was greatly displeased with himself. He knew he had gotten caught. Yeah, exactly. Okay, live forever. Yeah, he didn't. And you have to assume that Daniel knew how treacherous these guys were in the first place. But he says, set in his heart on Daniel to deliver him, and he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. So in other words, Darius did everything within his power to figure out how he could get Daniel out of this situation. But the law of the Medes and the Persians was solid. Once it became a law, it doesn't matter who wrote it or who doesn't like it, it's law. And so Darius had kind of shot himself in the foot here. Verse 15, then these men approached the king and said to the king, now, O king, that it is the law of the Medes and Persians that no decree or statute which the king establishes may be changed. All right, let's just, let me stop there and just say this real quick about our being aware of the deception of people. As Christians, we have to be very careful of other people because there will be people out there, and it may be people we work with. They will be out to get us for a number of reasons, but one of them could be that our work ethic is making them look bad, and they don't want to change, so they want to get rid of the person making them look bad. Okay? It also could be that our Christian stance in our job is making them feel bad about themselves. So it could be that as well. 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. Beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits or try the spirits to see whether they're of God. That's, a lot of times we jokingly use that for different things, but that is a very true statement when it comes to make sure those people that are around you are there, Let me just give you another verse. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16. Jesus sending out the disciples. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. In other words, Jesus sent the disciples into a world where they're going to be out to get you. I venture to say that our world today is a whole lot worse than that. He wants us to be wise as serpents. He don't want us to bite like serpents, but he wants us to be wise as serpents. I've heard people use 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter, as well. We have to accept everybody. Not really what that was saying. We've got to love everybody in the name of Jesus, but we don't accept everything they say or do because you just can't. There are a lot of conniving people in this world. And if those people can find out that they can run over us, they will run over us with a school bus. We've got to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. All right, next thing. On the outline, the testimony that our testimony should be one that God can use to reach others. Look at verse 16. So the king gave the command, and they brought Daniel and cast him in the den of lions. But the king spoke, saying to Daniel, your God whom you serve continually, he will deliver you. Isn't that a great testimony? For the king, for all intents and purposes, is a pagan king, looks at Daniel and says, your God's going to deliver you from this. And you would have to believe that Darius knows that because of the life Daniel lives. Because it's been roughly 50 years since at least the last miracle we know about in the Bible. So it's a different dynasty too. So Darius may not even know about what had happened back in the day. But what he does know about is the testimony of Daniel and God he serves, which is pretty awesome. Then verse 17, and then a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his signet ring and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose concerning Daniel might not be changed. Now the king went to his palace and spent the night fasting, and no musicians were brought before him. Also his sleep went from him. Then the king rose up very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a loud lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying, Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? I just have to believe that there was a dramatic pause right there. But Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. And isn't that an awesome statement? Because number one, from the king's perspective, he's alive. And number two, he still has as much respect for the king as he always did. Yeah. The one who put him there, basically. And that's an awesome testimony in and of itself. Daniel said, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before him. And also, O king, I've done no wrong before you. Pretty good testimony. And I think it's interesting. I've had people say, they've kind of balked at this and said, well, the lions just wasn't hungry. Okay. They didn't read the rest of the verses if they thought that. Look at verse 23. Now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury was whatsoever was found on him, because he was delivered by God. Then verse 24, and the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Listen to this. Them, their children, and their wives, and the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces. Listen, before they ever came to the bottom of the den. So it wasn't that the lions were not hungry or ferocious or wild lions like we know wild lions to be. It was because God's power through that angel shut their mouths. Now, here, this is my own thought. Could it have been that the angel appeared in that den and those lions were so scared they would not come anywhere close to Daniel because the angel was standing there? It doesn't say that. That's just in my mind thinking. Because you remember when Elisha had that servant that was worried, and Elisha said, or asked God, God, open his eyes. And there was angels, chariots of fire and horses all around them, right? Or you go back to Balaam and the donkey. Why was the donkey always veering off course? Because the donkey could see the angel, right? God's power shows up in mighty ways, in mighty different ways, but in this sense and then other places we've seen, it's been an angel of the Lord or a pre-incarnate appearance of Christ, as the case may be. But I think it's interesting. There on your outline, last thing. A testimony, we need to have a testimony that allows God to reveal His power. Ask God to reveal His power. And I think this is interesting. I think I shared this last week too. Sometimes the Lord is just waiting on us to act in faith, and because He's going to show up, but He's not going to show up until we take that step. He didn't show up with Daniel until Daniel was in the lion's den. He didn't show up with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego until they were in the fire. Sometimes He's waiting on us to take that step of faith. And then He's going to show up, and He's going to show up in an awesome way. Awesome way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. He did. He did. Sure did. It's amazing how powerful living out our testimony is if we will live it out and allow God to work through it. Sometimes we have to do some things that maybe goes against common sense sometimes, but against the status quo, so to speak. Mm-hmm. They were looking, yeah. 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 And I mean, that's totally logical because he spent the vast majority of his life in that area of the world. So, yeah, and very logical. God's just bigger than we ever give Him credit for. And we give Him credit. That's the thing. We give Him credit for as big as we can see him being, but he's bigger than that even. And that's awesome. Appreciate y'all. Yeah, yeah. Because they were in captivity at the time. Yeah. Isn't it interesting that God takes care of us even when we have disobeyed him? He is bigger than we can ever imagine. Appreciate y'all being here tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Any of y'all going to the game on Saturday? It's supposed to be aired on My 40. So yeah, it's supposed to be. So you can watch it. What's that? Oh, is it? Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know about the other ones, but I hope Brevard does well. Well, we have the opportunity. We were asked, Jalen and Lauren are taking their family down to watch the game because Owen wants to go watch the game. So they asked us if we wanted to go, and so we're going to go with them. Yeah, there's going to be a big crowd. I think there's going to be a big crowd of Brevard people down there, which is good because, in my humble opinion, Brevard won't be as good next year because they're graduating almost their entire starting offense. So, with the exception of one or two. All right, well, let's stand together. We'll pray. Be dismissed. Father, thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about the scriptures and your word and your power, and you're just so awesome, beyond anything we could imagine. But Father, you work in regards to our steps of faith, and we just ask that you give us courage to take those steps according to your will, and don't let us worry about the things that are happening outside of your will. Let us just stay focused on you. Bless us now as we leave, and we ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all again for being here.